Alright, welcome back. Let's talk today about 30-day horses. Now, when I first started training, and I worked under several different types of trainers out on the West Coast, dressage trainers, reining trainers, Western pleasure, hunt under saddle, you name it, nobody ever talked to me about 30-day horses. Maybe I was oblivious, maybe I was just their buck and dummy, maybe I never asked enough questions, but nobody ever talked about 30-day horses. So when I came here to South Dakota, I had to do 30-day horses. And when I had gone on my own out on the West Coast, I would spend a month on my groundwork, a month on my riding in the round pen, and then I'd spend another month riding them out and into the arena and whatnot. And I had a 3-month curriculum. And so when I came to South Dakota and I had to do that 30-day program, I had to get the same results done in a month. And it kind of makes you scratch your head a little bit. And I'm here to tell you that the only person that's getting 30 days done in 30 days is they're teaching a horse how to be tired. And I think that kind of blows that whole theory out of the water a little bit. So I got to do quite a little time on my groundwork, and I probably spend more time on my groundwork than most folks, but I have to. I'm 5'3", I'm 125 pounds at my winter weight. These suckers are going to drag me around. They're going to beat me up quite a little. You know, I need to work through all the holes on the ground with them, and I need to develop the balance and the muscle in order to carry me. And, you know, you look at exercise programs, and folks that are in exercise programs, they're not working their upper body 5 days a week. They're not working their lower body 5 days a week. They give themselves some time off, and we have to be able to give these horses time off to allow them to rest, to allow them to develop so they can do what we're asking of them. You know, and I disagree with these colt starting challenges where, you know, they're riding them in 1 day or they're riding them in 3 days. You know, that's fine and all, and, you know, don't come for me. Don't come with the hate posts and the hate comments. You know, I've done it. I've been riding horses, starting colts that I couldn't get a halter on. I couldn't lead them. But hell, I was up on their back already riding them around. And, you know, I didn't like doing things that way, so I've changed my curriculum quite a bit. You know, you wouldn't go out for the varsity football team and show up for 1 day for practice, and then suddenly you're the quarterback. You know, you wouldn't meet somebody and 3 hours later you're their best friend. And you sure as hell wouldn't give them your bank account information. And I don't know, you wouldn't probably sleep with somebody on the first date. Or maybe you will, but you know, that's something you probably ought to think about, and that's why I don't like riding them on the first day or even the first week that I have them in training. So that whole 30-day thing, it's demystified. You know, and let's talk about the horses that you send off to the trainer and you don't hear from them for about 6 months. You know, and you have to call them and ask if your horse is still alive. You know, are they too busy? Did something happen? Are they feeding it? You know, or you have to think about, was my horse really that tough that it took them that long to get through to it? You know, that's questions that need to be asked. And, you know, let's talk about those tough horses. You know, the way I've designed my curriculum, I get paid the same regardless of whether your horse is tough or not. But, you know, it takes me sometimes 2 to 3 times longer on a tough one than it does on an easy one that wants to get along and wants to be pretty kind. And I do a pretty good job of screening all of my clients that come in right now. You know, I try to make sure stuff is halter broke, maybe have had their feet handled, you know, kind of been brushed on a little bit. That generally helps me. You know, and even those horses, they reach a point in their training where they're like, to heck with you. They don't want to come out of their corral, or they don't want to go in the round pen, and they want to drag me all over the place here. And could you imagine trying to start from scratch on one that we've got to back the pickup and trailer up to one of my corrals here and dump it out of the trailer into the corral? Do you think how much harder it is for us to develop the mind and body on a horse that's not been handled, and how much longer it takes us to get through to them? And it's the same price. Okay, think about that. So let's talk a little bit more about developing the mind and the body on these colts. You know, sometimes you don't find out if you're going to have a problem with them until a few weeks into it. You know, I've got to know that I can go in the pen with them and clean their corral. I gotta know I can go in there and change their water bucket. And if they're not comfortable with me around them in the pen, they're sure as heck not comfortable with me up on their back. You know, they're not ready for me to ride them yet. And you don't know that in the first couple of days. You know, you don't know that stuff in the first couple of days. But with this 30-day thing and with these colt starting challenges, it's putting a lot of pressure on us to get after them a whole lot faster. You know, I can remember not being able to walk underneath a horse's neck, but I was up on its back riding it. And I'm surprised I didn't come out with more injuries than I've had already. So I gotta work through quite a few holes on the ground before I ever get up on their back. Quite a few of my clientele are folks that work 80-hour work week, and on Saturday afternoon they want to be able to go take their horse out of the pen, catch him anywhere, bring him in, brush his tail, maybe clip him, maybe brush, maybe bathe him, and they want to load him up in the horse trailer and go for a ride with their friends, or maybe they need to go help a neighbor move cattle. So I need to work through all that on the ground with that horse to make them pretty user-friendly for everybody, or else I'm going to ruin somebody's weekend. And, you know, I just can't witchcraft through that kind of stuff. It's going to take some time. And we don't know that without spending the time on these colts. You know, and it goes a little bit further than just ruining somebody's afternoon. You know, I can ruin somebody's life. I can ruin that horse's life if they have a bad experience with that horse. And that horse puts them in the emergency room or puts a bad taste in their mouth for that horse. You know, over the past, I don't know, say 5-6 years, there's been a couple horses that come to mind that were really tough horses to work through. And I worked through them. And, you know, a good horse can give a good trainer a great reputation, and a bad horse can give a good trainer a bad reputation. And here's the reason why. Because maybe that trainer was able to get through to that horse, was able to unlock that horse's potential. And then that horse goes on to another person, another trainer, another breeder, and they struggle with that horse. And it comes back to me and they go, what did you do to get through to this horse? So I have to know that fine line. When I'm working with one, I have to know when to say, I cannot unlock this horse's potential and he or she needs to go on to the next trainer or needs to find another direction in life to go to besides being started to be rode. All that being said, you know, it's what I wish they would have told me before I wanted to become a horse trainer and before I got pretty good at starting colts and what a 30-day horse was. But I think if you followed me at all and you've watched my videos and you scroll past my YouTube channel, past all the barrel and pole bending videos, I think you'll see a common pattern in all the horses that I start. You know, whether they're bred differently from each other, different colors, different sizes, different ages, different mare gelding studs, you know, they're all doing the same thing. I have a very specific curriculum that I've curated for everything that I ride. They all have been exposed to a rope. They're opening and closing gates. They've been ridden out. They've been ridden in. They're picking up correct leads. If I can, they're doing flying lead changes in that first 30 rides. You know, just take a look and you'll see, you know, because whether that horse comes back to me for another 30 days after it goes home, or that horse goes on to a futurity barrel trainer, or that horse goes on to be a ranch cutter or a rope horse, you know, I want them all to be pretty user-friendly for the next guy in line. I want them to be able to do turns on the forehand, turns on the haunches, side pass, you know, flex and bend a little bit, back up off of the bit. I want them to be able to do that and ride out in a straight line for somebody. You know, it doesn't matter to me what direction they're going to go next. You know, if they're going to be somebody's pet and they're going to develop somebody's family's kids into better horsemen and horsewomen, you know, then I'm on board for that. And, you know, that's what I think a 30-day horse ought to be. So, you know, thanks for watching. I appreciate your time and have a good rest of your day.